Last time we left off here, the Autobots were facing off against the Decepticons for the Battle of the Space Bridge in hoping that a Terracon army would not resurrect. The Autobot team here is now facing against a triple changer Megatron, the Combaticons, as long as with Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker. The battle ensues, with both sides actually just shooting and some of them engaging in hand-to-hand combat. Windblade, being the only flyer here, transforms and actually takes to the sky. However, with Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Starscream in the air, it's a 3 against 1 type of situation, to which Grimlock actually grabs RC and fastballs her to one of the more stabilized parts of the space bridge so that she can get a better shot at these Decepticon Seekers. So Windblade uses that to her advantage and actually is able to pivot most of the Decepticons towards RC, which allows her to not only shoot Thundercracker and Skywarp in their thrusters, but actually bring them down to her level, where she's able to engage in hand-to-hand combat with them. However, this is still a duel, and Thundercracker still has his sonic abilities with her teleportation. So this is where Cliffjumper actually jumps in and begins fighting with RC here, thus making it a far more equal, I guess you could say an equal 2-on-2 situation. Back on the ground here, we have Optimus and Megatron actually going at it here. Keep in mind again, Megatron is a triple changer, and he is physically enhanced here. However, due to the training the Autobots did in the last chapter, go ahead and check out my Grimlock and TF Prime playlist here for the full context. Optimus is not only able to fight against Megatron, but he fights against him smarter, using Megatron's a bit bulkier, body against him here, outmaneuvering his double fusion cannons and actually landing some slashes on him. And believe it or not, he's actually doing pretty well here. Meanwhile, Grimlock is taking on the likes of Brawl, Swindle, and Onslaught in a 3 against 1 scenario. Keep in mind, due to Onslaught's strategies, they are actually able to put Grimlock on the back foot for a little bit until he starts using his own sonic pain waves to actually not only disrupt them, but begins to tear apart the space bridge. Seeing this and seeing that he can disrupt it here, he actually does it a couple more times till the space bridge starts to flux. Meanwhile, back on Cybertron, we actually see a couple Autobots and the rest of the Dinobots pull up to the scene here. The Autobots that show up are Perceptor, Ultra Magnus, Jazz, and Moonracer, along with the remaining Dinobots of Slug, Snarl, Sludge, and Swoop here. I would actually say they find, I think I said they find Sludge eventually, right? So, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and go with that here. And believe it or not here, I actually say they do engage the Terracons under Ultra Magnus's command here, actually being able to put in some decent damage and actually take a lot of them out, while some of them do make their way to the space bridge. However, before they can make it here, they are actually intercepted by Jetfire, Air Raid, and Silverbolt. So again, yes, I know a lot of Transformer cast members here, but again, if you guys read the Transformers Prime comic, there was still a lot of Autobots that chose to remain on Cybertron and actually fight here. So these would definitely be my, I guess you could say, my Autobot team here for that one. So it kind of is what it is here. So with that being said, yeah, they are actually able to hold off most of the horde of the Terracons, and so very few actually make their way through here. However, just like in the original here, Ratchet is able to communicate with the rest of the team here that he found a way to disrupt and shut down the space bridge here. And so this is where we actually get Grimlock tackling both Blastoff and Vortex away from Bumblebee and Bulkhead and tells them to go ahead and get it done. To which they follow their commander's lead and, well, they make their way towards where RC and Cliffjumper are, and they disable Thundercracker and Skywarp pretty quickly, and they then begin to deactivate or try to disrupt the space bridge. And considering Bulkhead is much stronger than RC, I think he would be able to get this done here. Meanwhile, in the air, Windblade is actually outmaneuvering Starscream here in pretty much an epic aerial combat here, to which this is where the Terracons try to come through here, and just like in the original, the space bridge begins to explode here. However, Optimus is now on the back foot and is about to get shot down by, well, pretty much pulverized by Megatron's double fusion cannons. This is where Grimlock in his Dinobot form, or his Tyrannosaur mode, actually crunches down on Megatron's arm at a surprising speed and crushes the fusion cannon as it's firing, blowing up and tearing off Megatron's arm, as the combination of his bite force plus the fact that the cannon was already about to shoot actually causes this to happen. This causes Megatron to yell out in absolute agony because of this here. And so this means that only one thing can be done. They have to retreat here. Or, well, that would be the case if Megatron wasn't severely injured here. You see, because his arm is injured, he can't transform properly. So, with only the, Combaticons and the Seekers being able to make it out here, they tell Megatron to flee. However, the Autobots now make their way towards their ground bridge as well here. And, well, Megatron's kind of left there. But before Grimlock even leaves the space bridge, he actually throws his sword into Megatron, embedding him into the ground of the space bridge here. And so, with that being said here, it explodes. It kills Megatron. And again, air quoting this, by the way. It seems to kill Megatron. And so when the Combaticons and the Seekers get back to the ground bridge here, they actually look in shock. Even Starscream has to take a minute to contemplate here. On the other side of Cybertron, Ultra Magnus congratulates his forces, but again, they do need to redo, or pretty much renew, their search for Energon right now. To which the Dinobots and the rest of the Autobots agree, and so they transform, split up into teams, and go out looking for Energon. Meanwhile, back on Earth, okay, the Autobots are celebrating. They're actually happy for their efforts, and Grimlock is very prideful on the sheer fact that he actually brought, well, I guess, engaged the final blow for Megatron's demise. And so Optimus is the only one kind of taken aback here, to which Ratchet even asks him, do you really think he's gone? And to which Optimus is a bit like, well, he has survived worse, but something on this caliber, it's just hard for him to, comprehend Megatron surviving. But again, it's just, he thought one day he would probably be able to reach his old friend, maybe bring him back to the light. Into which Grimlock does kind of criticize Optimus for a little bit for being soft here, telling him that if a lot of these Decepticons could have turned good by now, then they would have done it. To which, out of all the Decepticons you think could have turned good, you believe Megatron could have? And Optimus does contemplate his friend's words here. But again, he's just kind of like, maybe he could have. Maybe he wouldn't have. Either way, it's just hard to comprehend that he's dead. To which Grimlock, believe it or not, does agree. And he wonders if they actually should go and search the rubble or the wreckage of the space bridge to actually find Megatron. To which the only one that would be able to do it is Windblade here. And so, the Autobots really don't take that initiative to go out and search there. At least not yet here. However, the Decepticons, on the other hand, are now contemplating here. Starscream, yes, is now in control of the Decepticon cause here, as he usually would have been, because again, he is in second command here, and he's a lot more formidable in this timeline. So I actually think the group would follow him here. But Starscream, instead of actually celebrating, he's actually contemplating here. He's thinking. Megatron is gone. The Decepticon cause is now in his hands here. He has just about everything he needs. But now he has to prove himself here. And I actually think he would take a moment to really think to himself here. Because again, one of the few things that Starscream is, he is a schemer. And I actually do think having Starscream maybe go on a self-reflection moment and just, think to himself here. Meanwhile, Soundwave is trying to search for any life signs of Megatron. But again, he is kind of just like, okay, I'm going to roll with Starscream for right now, like I've always been doing, just like in the, like in the original timeline. I don't think any of that changes here. However, I do think we would definitely have some interactions and Starscream seeking advice from Thundercracker. Considering Thundercracker is the wisest member of the Seekers in all honesty, and believe it or not, he is one of the more intellectual members of the Decepticons here, I could actually see Thundercracker being a good advisor to Starscream, if not his own second in command at the moment here. To which, once actually getting that advice here, with probably a little bit of, I guess you could say, arrogant boastfulness from Skywarp, I could definitely see that, Starscream then presents himself to the rest of the Decepticons and obviously the Combaticons and stuff like that there. And this is where they would begin to formulate a plan here, to which Starscream instead actually contacts and summons Knockout and Breakdown a lot earlier here. You see, it's actually pretty interesting, and I feel like Transformers Prime never really talked about this here. But again, I would actually have things like Conjob and Convoy play out the same. Obviously, Convoy would not have Grimlock in it because, again, he is in his T-Rex form. But he would actually be on the sidelines actually coordinating with Ratchet, or at least he would actually be the strategist of the group here, actually giving the Autobots command while Optimus is out there leading. I mean, that way, the whole mech thing where they try to, I guess you could say, try to steal the dynamic nuclear generation system, I think it was called, right? Let me know in the comment section down below and stuff like that there. But yeah, he would also be monitoring the journey and definitely giving the kids advice on how to use it here. And so yeah, most of those episodes do happen the same here. Now you might say, why did I not mention Master and Students? And here's why. I don't think Starscream would wake up Skyquake here. As a matter of fact, I think I would actually replace Masters and Students, and, well, probably not replace it, but let's make it different here. Instead of Starscream waking up Skyquake, he wakes up Lugnut instead. I think it would actually be far better, because again, number one, Lugnut does not get much attention. He does not get much love outside of Transformers Animated, which gave him his popularity. Believe it or not, if you guys really think about it, he has what I call the Harley Quinn syndrome. To which that means a character originally starts out, well, I pretty much call it that because, again, Harley Quinn originally started as a show character, and then, boom, went into the comics. Same thing happened to Lugnut, and same thing happened to Bulkhead, but again, where did they start out at? As show characters, and eventually made their way into comics, but not as much as often. So, this is where we would have, instead of Optimus and Bumblebee, it would be Optimus and Grimlock. To which Grimlock would be ready to square off while Optimus is holding him back like, hey, wait. Let me talk to him real quick. And again, he would actually begin to talk to Starscream. To which, again, Lugnut would probably pimp slap Starscream, telling him he's no worthy leader than Megatron. And this is where we get the crash out. Which if we all remember correctly with Transformers Animated, meant Lugnut was setting off freaking nuclear punches. Yeah, that still happens here. And so, Agent Fowler pulls up, let's just say it's the same vehicle as Transformers Animated for plot's sake here. Lugnut scans it, and then he begins to, well, bombard Optimus and Grimlock with his attacks and stuff here. However, using Lugnut's own glorified and glazing of Megatron against him, this allows Grimlock to not only pounce on Lugnut, but clamp his jaws around one of his wing, severing it and allowing Optimus to, well, kill him. It's unfortunate, but I think it would better serve Lugnut, because I do have plans for Skyquake in Season 2 here. Okay, that's the reason why I'm really replacing it. So just to kind of get that out the way, I do have plans for Skyquake later on. Okay, so just bear with me here. All right. So then we have the episode Deus Ex Machina, and again, the first half of that episode plays the same. Bulkhead engages with Breakdown. Again, Breakdown's been there earlier, and so I would also have a showing of Bumblebee and Knockout actually going out of here. You see, the reason why I'm having this is because Knockout was originally meant to be Bumblebee's rival instead of having Ratchet. And so, if we actually keep that up here, yes, Knockout does care about his paint job. But believe it or not, in Season 1, he was an actual fighter. There is no reason why he should have just downgraded all the way to that. Okay? I don't get that here. So, Deus Ex Machina plays out the same in the beginning. However, towards the more climactic part, Grimlock shows up and he engages with the Combaticons as Bruticus here. So, that pretty much happens. Both of them show off their clashes here. But again, considering the Autobots have gotten stronger and they actually adjusted themselves better, we can actually see Grimlock and Windblade actually showing off their team coordination with each other. And, well, they wind up not only being able to push back Bruticus, but forcing him to deform or, separate into his components. And then he has to transform and flee along with the rest of the Decepticons. But again, Starscream actually keeps a piece of the Energon Harvester with him, despite the fact that Bulkhead was able to crush and blow it up. Let's say that a piece of it remains for the future. Now, the next episode that would actually play out the same is definitely Speed Metal. Now, this episode, again, revolves around Bumblebee, Knockout, and stuff like that there. And again, I still think the Autobots will be there, but let's say Grimlock and Windblade are just simply not there for that episode, and we could say they're actually on a date. I'm just gonna flat out just have that be the thing here. Then the episode Predatory would play out the same here. However, this is where we get a cut. Okay, before Sigmine, before Out of His Head, before the Shadow Zone, we have an episode I like to call The Void. It would go into space where the space bridge had blown up. Megatron's body damaged, mangled. Grimlock's sword still in his chest here. To which his body is floating into the asteroid belt of, the solar system, which, is a thing in Transformers. And apparently in Transformers Prime as well. Do we actually have that in real life? Please someone let me know down below. But, like I said, Megatron is drifting in space. Broken, beaten, torn to shreds here. However, he's floating now and begins to hit around the asteroid belts. And so, this kind of juts him awake a bit here. He looks at himself. He's broken. He's beaten. He's disgraced here. Cursing to the skies, to the stars itself. Cursing at space. Cursing at that infernal Dinobot. And Optimus Prime himself here. And so, these screams are heard in a dark portal. This blackish and purplish vortex opens, and Megatron floats into it. He hits a ground pretty hard here, and a voice tells him, I could help you. I could make you stronger, tougher, far more powerful than before. To which Megatron, tells the, person that's talking to him, he doesn't serve anyone. He'll never serve anyone. To which he says, you have very little choice in the matter. You could either serve me, be my herald of destruction, be my apprentice, if you will, and I will give you the universe itself here. To which the figure begins to open a portal through space and time, and then reaches into it and pulls out the Dark Spark. To which Megatron says, how? How did you? To which the figure says, I know of many things, and I have many abilities. You see, I cannot leave this dimension due to the power of a prime still remaining in the universe. And so, he is only able to reach into it very subtly, or able to create portals for others to come to him. But he cannot come to them because he was simply sealed here all these years ago. into which the mangled and deformed Megatron, seeing the dark spark, seeing a chance at him rebuilding himself, he takes the deal. And so the figure floats the dark spark towards him, tearing out his dark energon spark, causing him to go offline for a moment before the dark spark takes its place here. The very thing that rivals the matrix of leadership. And it begins to contort Megatron. It begins to reform him. And so he begins to transform himself, losing his more bulkier mass, losing his more double fusion cannons. And now he looks just like the way Unicron made him in Predacons Rising. To which Megatron now looks at himself, upgraded, stronger, faster. He feels tougher than he was before. And Megatron asks him, what is he made out of? And the figure says, Unutrium, a metal crafted from stars themselves here. A very powerful metal. By the way, this is a thing in Transformers, and it's actually what Six-Shot, Overlord, and I think Blackwing. Yep, those three. They're actually made out of this as well. It's very tough and very hard for even average Autobots to be able to, even crack even. So, yeah. Giving Megatron that upgrade, and again, we're having him in the same body as, well, I guess you could say Megatron 2.0, if you will. But I guess this will make him Megatron like 3.0. And so, this is where Megatron kneels before his new master and asks him, what do I call you? And so the figure would step out, presenting itself over Megatron. And he would tell him, my apprentice, you may call me Megatronus Prime, aka the Fallen. And that's what we're going to leave it off here, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and share with your friends. And yeah, things are about to get crazy from here on out. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later for the Reign of Starscream saga. Peace.